Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today our main villain will be Algeria. Ba 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 ba. So what does the Algerians want to say? They want to say nothing. I do not. I have not spoken to the Algerian government, so there's nothing for me to say on their behalf. But now let's get to it. Algeria builds up their military, and then they go to war with Tunisia. Tunisia is a pretty strong nation. Just kidding, Algeria easily takes their capital and they surrender. It was that easy, Algeria says to themselves. Why don't I try a bigger country like Spain or even Russia? But then they think to themselves that Tunisia is not that strong. Now, what is good with Algeria being able to go to war? They can get more land. And what contains land? What is in land? Of course, resources. And Algeria is pretty psyched to be able to have more resources. So they declare war on Libya. They increase their army and moves and takes Tripoli. Then they move further and further and further and takes the entire coast even. But then they have the Sahara. They want to take over the Sahara. Not this Sahara, but this Sahara, the Libyan Sahara. They want to have all of this Sahara. But how will they do that? Well, of course, they invade. They use the Algerian smugglers that have smuggled smugglers from other Saharan and sub-Saharan countries to lead the way for the Algerian military to push up here. Then Libya surrenders. The um, the annexation of Libya is pretty good because now Libya is Algeria. And who doesn't love a good big Algerian welcome? So then what does Algeria do? They go to war with Morocco and Western Sahara. The thing with Morocco and Western Sahara is that it is quite the big country. So they move in to take the coast, and now they can move down to take the not coast. Then they can go even further down to push over the line here and take more coast. They of course push further down. No country is interfering, because to see how powerful Algeria is, of course, Western Sahara surrenders. Then Morocco, what do? They do unsurrender and then get cut in half, with southern part of Morocco no longer having water. They get taken over. Now the rest of Morocco is very defended. So what does Algeria do? They land countries in their troops. So Morocco is then consumed by troops from the middle and then invaded. They now longer they now no longer have a coast, a capital, so they surrendered. Then everything is annexed by Algeria, the great savior Algeria. Now, what will happen next? Find out in the next episode of Algerian Matrix. Just kidding, Algeria stays. They want to keep all of North Africa, but first they want Mauritania. Of course, this will be quite an easy task for these rough and rowdy Algerians. But what they don't expect is something that is quite unexpected, that no one would really expect unless they were expecting the unexpected. Chad, being the Chad they are, stays out of the war while Mali and Niger join. Then these small pieces of white join in on the war as well, because I did not care enough to pay. My headphones turned off. It was quite an wait. I did not like that. It is probably because they can't hear any sound. But anyway, the Algerians expected the Chad move from Chad and moved in to Niger. They moved quite quickly in here and took all of this land here. But now, what were they going to do? How were they going to capture this land? Well, they were going to attack here, and here, and here, and of course, take the water away from Africa. They do not respect Africa by Toto, and they do not bless the rains down in Africa. What do they do now? They move in here. They move down here, and they move even further down here. And then a totally unexpected thing happens. They do this. Spearhead directly through Mali, taking not their capital, but cutting the front line in two, making Mali and Niger being alone fighting against Algeria, while Mali and Mauritania has to also fight against Algeria. For Mali, this is very confusing because they are now cut in half, and now they are now no longer cut in half because they have been annexed. Niger, the Chad, they are not surrenders after they lose their capital. Then Mauritania and Mali are the only ones left. Mauritania is quite the Chad, so they did not surrender when they lost their capital. But what does Mali have to say? They have to say, of course, we are also Chad. Whoops, I lost my capital. Goodbye. Mauritania has to surrender because they are surrounded on every single side. On every single side by Algerian forces. They are now surrendered. What will Algeria be doing now? Find out in the next episode of the Algerian Menace. Batman versus the Flash. Now this could actually happen because the Flash is a DC. Now I'm talking about the series Flash, from which we have seen multiple seasons. Now, why is this important? It is not. But what is important is the invasion of Egypt by Algeria. They want to take the Suez, which is over here. But their forces are over here. What do? They, of course, naval invade Cairo, the main capital of Egypt, and also take Alexandria. They then, instead of moving towards what they want, they move towards what they have, like the humble people they are. Then they move down the Nile. This is probably how the Nile looks, but just to be sure, they push out from the Nile to not Nile. Then this part surrenders. Just kidding, because Siwa here, controlled purely by Jojo Siwa, is now captured, so they surrender. Now what happens to the coast? It gets pushed away. Now what happens to Hurkada? It gets captured. What happens to the Nile? It is already Algerian. What happens to the canal? Nothing. What happens to this peninsula? An invasion. Not by the Israelis, but by the Algerians. Now what happens to the canal? It is now Algerian property, then owned by Algeria Corp, now being able to be sold to countries around the world, like for example Disneyland, Syrupland, and Warcrime. Now, what will happen now will shock you. Algeria will invade this part of Spain, which calls in this other very much smaller part of Spain, and also this huge part of Spain. Now, what will happen? This will happen. There. Now, what will I do to stop me from making an Andorra video? This. Andorra is now deleted from the map. Andorra is ocean. Who could have seen this coming? Of course, Algeria. They invade here, taking most of Spain already, and moving in there. Now they have 99.8% of Spain. They then move towards Portugal and up their border and take these small ex-slaves of land that was Spanish, but I did not color in. This is Portuguese. They move into here. Now only 0.001% of Spain remains. So they naval invade, taking Barcelona and moving towards the capital of Spain there. Spain no longer has a capital. It is now Diablo. What does that mean? That is a city. Diablo is captured. So what does Spain do? Of course, they have their new capital, Murcia. It instantly gets captured, with most of the coast remaining, and all the coast has been taken. Spain can do nothing but surrender. Portugal, of course, the Chad they are, join Algeria. The Iberian Peninsula is now united once again under one ruler, the grateful Algeria. It is beautiful to see how much my little child has grown. They've grown to taking over quite a bit of land. Now, I must say, see you in the next video, and I hope you will come back to see the next video so I can see you in the next video. Goodbye.